Hey guys, it's Lane with Tim's Nation. I'm coming at you today to talk a little bit about those, my favorite wee little warriors, my favorite little kin, the Leagues of Votann. GW just released some preliminary rules for us, so we get a taste of what the 10th edition Votann rules are going to be, and I wanted to go through those with you. At initial glance, it feels a little bit like they knocked us out of the nerf tree and we hit every branch going down the way down, but I think compared to the way they're changing things to make the whole game a little bit less killy, I think we're still going to be pretty strong in the meta. But let's go through and kind of look at the individual rules we did get, and just keep in mind that we have a whole lot more rules and stratagems that we haven't gotten yet, and obviously how this all compares to the other factions is a huge factor there as well. So, all right, stick with me, guys. We're going to go through and check out all these individual rules kind of one at a time. All right, so first off, the Judgment Token rule, what there is referred to actually, technically, it's called Eye of the Ancestors. The Judgment Tokens in 9th edition were super powerful. We had a lot of different ways we can give out Judgment Tokens, and when those Judgment Tokens accumulated onto our opponent's units, it made it very easy to wound them. Basically, if we had Judgment Tokens on an opponent's unit, if there's one Judgment Token every 6 to hit, shooting or combat, was an auto wound. Every 5 up to hit was an auto wound if there were 2 Judgment Tokens on there. And if we got to 3 Judgment Tokens, every 4 to hit was an auto wound. Obviously super powerful. And in the new edition, GW is making it clear that what they want is for anti-tank weapons and anti-monster weapons to damage the tanks and monsters. But for anti-infantry weapons, it's much more difficult. As it is right now, anti-infantry weapons still have a pretty good shot at damaging, especially T7, dreadnoughts, tanks, vehicles, monsters. However, I think they're changing that by making all the toughnesses a lot higher. The strength 4, strength 5 attacks are going to be wounding those vehicles on 6s now. So I knew the Judgment Token mechanic as it was is not going to stick around and stay the same. Obviously, they're going to nerf that in some ways to bring it in line with what the damage output is for everyone else's army. However, I was kind of surprised at how much they nerfed it. So here's what happened. Now, it seems like in their description here, it only really says there are 2 ways that they really show that they give out Judgment Tokens. First of all, if an opponent's unit kills a Votann unit, then they get a Judgment Token. Makes sense. That's in the current edition as well. They don't say anything about any of the other ways that currently exist, like for the opponent doing actions, for the opponent being on objectives, for the call giving out in the command phase. We don't know whether those are going to apply or not, but from what they said here, it just sounds like one way that the opponent can earn Judgment Tokens, and then also a second way in which at the beginning of the turn we pick one enemy unit and give it 2 Judgment Tokens right away. We'll talk about that again here in a little bit, but the current rule that they're showing here as far as how Judgment Tokens work is if an opponent's model or opponent's unit has 1 Judgment Token on it, we get +1 to hit. Sounds great, right? However, they actually nerfed our ballistic skills. So in 9th edition Votann, I have a ballistic skill of 3 up. Now in 10th edition, they're going to have a ballistic skill of 4 up. So that first Judgment Token giving a +1 to hit basically just makes the first Judgment Token, makes that unit function the same as it would have in 9th edition with 0 Judgment Tokens on the target. So a little frustrating, obviously, a big change there, and it already makes it function kind of like how Tau have worked with their marker lights. Obviously, there are differences between Judgment Tokens and marker lights. It seems the marker lights are easier to give out. Judgment Tokens are a little more difficult to get out, but Judgment Tokens stick around. They stay. And so, again, it'll be interesting to see how our stratagems play into this. In this rules preview, they only give us 1 stratagem, which is really strong. But right now, in 9th edition, we have a stratagem that lets us reroll all hits from any unit, which is super powerful. As we'll talk about here in a minute, there's a couple extra ways we can get Judgment Token or get command points. So if the stratagems are still strong, I don't think this is going to hurt us too much, but it already feels like significant nerf when we take our ballistic skill from a 3 up to a 4 up. Now, if there's 2 Judgment Tokens on the target, what that means is that you get +1 to hit still and +1 to wound. This +1 to wound thing is where I kind of guessed that they would be going with this. It couldn't have been the auto wound thing because they don't really want us to be auto wounding vehicles with our anti-infantry weapons anymore. They don't want it to be too easy to wound those tough targets. So the +1 to wound, I think, was something I was expecting. I was expecting maybe it would stack, hoping it would stack on 2, 3 judgment tokens, but that's not what it looks like here. It's just a +1 to hit for 1 judgment token, 2 judgment tokens, +1 to hit, and +1 to wound. I still think this is strong in general in the game, but again, it's going to depend if there are other ways to give out judgment tokens on top of that. And all right, so that's how the judgment tokens work. For the most part, it feels like a nerf, but we know the whole game is getting essentially nerfed. The killiness is going down, AP is going down, rerolls are supposedly going down, except for Space Marines and their Oath of Moment. So let's talk about Ruthless Efficiency. This is the Votann detachment rule. What this is, kind of, speaking of Oath of Moment, it allows the Votann player, and I believe it's after deployment at this, the start of the battle, pick 1 unit and put 2 judgment tokens on it. This is kind of nice because it doesn't say anything about line of sight or being able to see it or smell it or hear it or whatever. You just pick any unit and put 2 judgment tokens on it. Now, obviously, that's great if you want to pick out a target that's going to be tough to kill, gets judgment tokens right away. But then there's an additional benefit where if that unit that you chose is dead at the beginning of the first or second command phase, you get 3 command points. If it's dead at the beginning of the third or fourth command phase, you get 2 command points. And if it's dead by the beginning of the 5th command phase, you get 1 command point. So in this game, they've already said that we're starting effectively with 0 command points. So being able to get 3 command points right away, if you're able to kill that target in your first round, that's huge. That's an enormous amount. I mean, it'd be 3 command points is an enormous amount right now in 9th edition, but in 10th edition, it's even more valuable. That means that's why I can't wait to see what these stratagems look like when we get a chance to take a look at all of them. It's there's a lot of power there, especially if you get 3 CP right away. So, and of course, it's going to force us to make a decision. When we do that Ruthless Efficiency ability, do we pick a hard target that's going to be more difficult to kill and make it easier to kill throughout the game? Or do we pick an easy target that we'll be able to kill right away in turn 1 and then pick up those 3 CP? I'm probably going to be trying the second one there, the latter. I'm going to be trying to put those on, those 2 judgment tokens on for an easy to kill, easy to find unit, and then picking it up right away, because 3 CP is going to be gigantic in 10th edition. And even if it takes you an extra turn to get it, getting 2 CP is still going to be huge, especially later in the game. All right, let's talk about units. They showed us 2 units today. The Hearthkin Warriors, the individual infantry. If you've been watching the channel, I haven't really used these guys on the channel very much, just because I prefer the Pioneer jet bikes to them in terms of pretty much everything and all their damage output. But let's go through this a little bit and talk a little bit about these guys. So movement is still 5 inches, toughness 5. So these little squats are tougher than Space Marines, which I think is a cool benefit, because their armor is still a 4-up, and we haven't heard anything yet about reducing AP by 1. I would think if that was going to still be the case in 10th edition, they would show it in this rules preview. We don't know. They may still give us something later on, or maybe it's a stratagem or something along those lines, or maybe it's a benefit conferred by a leader of some type, a character that joins a unit. Who knows? Like I said, we still got a lot to see, but armor is still a 4-up. 1 wound is still the same. Leadership is 7-up, and objective control, the OC number, is 2. So that means even though they're just little 1 wound models, they do count as 2 towards controlling objectives. When it comes to the weapons, the 2 main weapons that most of the infantry, the Hearthkin Warriors, would have would either be the Autarch Pattern Bolter. Very similar to what it is. It's still 24 inches, 2 shots. Ballistic skills 4, like we said, all their ballistic skills gone to 4s. Still strength 4. It's AP 0. Currently in 9th edition, it's AP 1, and it's 1 damage. The other one is the Ion Blaster. This only has an 18-inch range, 1 shot. Again, ballistic skill 4, strength 5, AP 2, but only 1 damage. Right now, it's AP2, 2 damage. AP2, 1 damage doesn't sound that great to me. I would probably put the Bolter on my Hearthkin Warriors. I don't know. Give you an idea what you guys think. As it is right now, the Ion Blasters are also more expensive. I'm not sure if it's worth it or not. We're losing a shot and then gaining that AP but also still just being 1 damage doesn't seem like it's worth it to me. Now, one of the big things with the Hearthkin Warriors is they can carry a Magna Rail. There's a handheld Magna Rail rifle. So the Magna Rail has changed a bit. First of all, the range has gone down quite a bit. It's only 18 inches on the handheld version, on the infantry-based version. The Magna Rail gets devastating wounds, and it's heavy. Because it's heavy, that means its ballistic skill is a 5-up. If it holds still, it gets +1 to its hit rolls. So that means if the squad doesn't move, its ballistic skill goes to a 4-up. The question I have is, in this edition, will we be able to stack benefits? Because the Judgment token gives you a +1 to hit. Holding still with the Magna Rail is going to give you a +1 to hit. Does that take it to a 3-up ballistic skills, or are going to be stuck at the 4-up? Do they cap the pluses and minuses to hit at 1? This will be very interesting to see, because the Magna Rail is only ever hitting on a 4-up. It's going to make it difficult to hit. Again, we still need to see what our stratagems look like, and whether the high call still gives you rerolls, full rerolls on a unit. But man, that's a big change if Magna Rails are become way less efficient, on the infantry at least. So the Magna Rail, strength 12, so it's very high strength still. Especially remember on 2 Judgment token targets, it'll get +1 to wound. And AP is -3. It was AP4, gone down to AP3, and it's D3 + 3 damage. That's the same. D3 + 3 damage is the same. It does not say anything about ignoring invulns on here, so I think that characteristic is gone. As it is, the Magna Rail just ignores invulns, and then if you roll a 6 to hit right now, the damage flows through the unit. Something similar, the Magna Rail has the devastating wounds characteristic. That just means if you roll a 6 to wound, a critical wound roll, then the damage just turns into mortal wounds. So that means there's no armor save to it, even though it's AP3. There's no armor save. You just got to do D3 + 3 wounds. This may even be better. I'll tell you, at the Battle in the Pittsburgh GT at Fabricators Forge a couple weeks ago, twice in one game, I used my heavy Magna Rail on the Hekaton and shot a Lehman Russ tank, wounded it. And because the Lehman Russ has a 2-up save and the Magna Rail is an AP4 weapon, twice in the same game, my opponent made 6-up saves on the Lehman Russes. That would have made a huge difference in the game. Obviously, that doesn't change a whole lot unless we roll a 6 to wound. That just becomes mortal wounds, so that'll be a huge benefit there. Obviously, you only get 1 shot with a Magna Rail, so the odds of you getting that 6 to wound are pretty slim, 1 in 6, in fact. So we'll see if there's any way to manipulate that. As it is right now, Uthar the Destined, the named character, lets you manipulate a dice roll to make it a 6. We'll have to wait and see if that rule sticks around. We don't know if that's going to still be there or not. If it is, it's obviously hugely powerful. Maybe even more powerful now that it just converts it to mortal wounds and your opponent does not get an armor save at all. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. Another thing to note about the Hearthkin Warriors is that now they can take the Magna or the rotary cannon. Previously, it was not part of the kit, the Hearthkin Warriors kit. It was not on the data sheets. You weren't able to take it. It was only able to be taken on the Hearthkin Pioneers, the jet bikes. And I love taking on the jet bikes because it puts out a ton of shots. So in the recent Kill Team release, actually the current Kill Team release for Votann, they have a model that is carrying the rotary cannon. So a lot of people are hoping that it would show up in 40K proper, and it looks like it is here. I'm really hoping that if they have a little jump pack Votann model in that Kill Team release, that means we're getting jump pack Votann, because that would be a ton of fun. But we'll still have to see on that one. Just hoping at this point, just wishing. That's the wish list. But yeah, the rotary cannon can be taken. It's also heavy, so it makes it a ballistic skill 5. If you hold still, you get +1 to hit. They've reduced the number of shots, assuming the handheld rotary cannon profile is the same as the rotary cannon on the bikes, on the Pioneers. It becomes only 6 shots instead of 9. Currently it's 9. That's why I take it all the time. A ton of shots. But it is sustained hits. So each time you roll a critical hit, and roll a 6 to hit, it generates an additional hit. So, I mean, it could be 6, 7, maybe even 8 shots. So you might get some extra hits there. And that's it, just sustained hits. And it's strength 6, so in those T3 armies, toughness 3 infantry, it's great, wounding on 2s. It is AP1 now instead of AP2. all the AP is going down. We know that, and it is 1 damage. Now, even with a reduction in AP, one of the things I love about the Hearthkin is that you have the ability to put upgrades on the units, and one of the upgrades is the Pan-Spectral Scanner. This is still here. It still removes cover, so your target ignores cover whenever it's shooting at your target. I think this is actually going to be really strong. This is although it doesn't change, it's more important now that all the AP is being reduced, that you ignore cover. And if we can take this on the infantry, we can take it on the Hekatons, and they still have the bit on the Pioneers, although it's not confirmed in the Pioneer rules here. I'm assuming we can still take it on the Pioneers. That's great that it stays around. The comms array, totally different now. In 9th edition, it was anytime you're within 24 inches of the call, you would reroll 1s to hit. Now, if you use that stratagem or a CP on, if you use a stratagem on that unit, then when you do that, you roll a d6. On a 5-up, you get a CP back. So it's another way to get some CP back, which is useful. It's nice. There's the medic pack still. Instead of doing what it did before, which is just zeros the first failed armor save, it now is a 6-up feel no pain. So that, a change, but similarly, it makes the unit more durable. And there's a Weave Field Crest, which gives the bearer a 5 or 4+ invuln. This can only be taken on the Thane, basically the sergeant of the unit. So one of the models does have a 4-up invuln, which means you can just tank some high AP damage on that. You gotta hopefully make a couple saves there and keep the unit around a little bit more. So that's the Hearthkin Warriors. They also have one additional ability. Luck has, need keeps, toll earns. That's a whole lot of words to say sticky objectives. If the Hearthkin Warriors hold an objective through your command phase, then that objective, you still control it, even though you move models off of it, and you keep controlling it until the opponent moves models onto it. All right, Hekaton. Let's take a look at the Hekachunk Smoke Wagon. All right, movement 10, same as it is right now. Toughness 12. Everything's toughness has gone up, and T12 seems like it's a pretty good toughness. It still has the 2-up save, so we're glad to see that's there. 16 wounds, same as right now. Leadership is 7-up, and objective controlled is 5, so it does have some ability to hold an objective. Some things that changed on here. First off, the bolt cannons around the outside, right now it's currently treated as 4 bolt cannons that each get 3 shots, a total of 12 shots. Now they're treating it as 2 twin-linked bolt cannons. So if you put bolt cannons on the outside, you're going to get a total of 6 shots. It does have the sustained hits ability, so 6s to hit are going to generate additional hits, and it's twin-linked, so that means at strength 6, AP 1, 2 damage, you'll be re-rolling wounds, which is powerful. It's good to get some extra ways to reroll wounds, especially on something that's a little bit, would wound tougher units on 5s, or 6s. Being able to reroll wounds gives you some extra efficiency there. We just lose all those extra shots, but that's going to be the way a lot of these twin-linked weapons are working. You can also take the beamers, which I have not taken much in the past. I tried to use them a little bit. Their range is so short that it takes a couple turns to actually get them ineffective. They're only an 18-inch range, where the bolt cannons are 36 still. But yeah, the ion beamers are on the outside. Each one gets 3 attacks, 3 shots, and they are twin linked, so basically I have 2 of them, 6 shots. It's sustained hits D3, so each time you roll a 6 to hit, you get D3 additional hits, which is pretty cool. Strength 7, it's AP2, 1 damage. I don't know which is the better option here. You'd have the ability to generate a lot more hits, but you need to proc that sustained hits thing. The 6s to hit. I think the consistency of the 2 damage bolt cannons and the long range of it are still going to be making my preferred loadout for the Hekaton. So, yeah, we'll see how you guys want to play it. Give me some feedback here. What do you guys think? But I really think I'm going to stick with the bolt cannons. 36-inch range compared to 18 inches means turn 1, if I can get eyes on something, I can still shoot at it, which I find to be hugely valuable. Hekatons always have a matter autocannon on the back. Hasn't really changed a whole lot. 24-inch range, 6 shots, ballistic skill 4, strength, strength 7, same it has been. It's AP 1, used to be AP 2. AP 1 is expected and still 2 damage. So, there's you don't really get a choice. That's what's on the back of the cannon. And then you either have the cyclic ion cannon, the heavy magna rail, or the conversion beamer. I feel like between these, I'm going to go with the magna rail. Right now, if I run 2 Hekatons, I have a magna rail and the conversion beamer, just because the conversion beamer has that beam function, which means it goes through other units. It has the conversion rule now, the conversion beamer, and sustained hits D3, so it's possible you could pop off some extra hits. But yeah, I still like the consistency of the magna rail. And man, when you roll that 6 to wound and it turns into damage, the mortals, the damage turns into mortals, that's going to feel real good, no matter what your target is. So the heavy magna rail, here's the rules on that. It is a 30-inch range, while right now it's 36. So they trimmed down the range a little bit. 1 shot. Ballistic skill is 4 up. It's heavy, but 4 up. Strength is 18. I like the sound of that. Strength 18 on a gun. And remember, if something's got 2 judgment tokens on it, you're going to get +1 to wound. So you'll be wounding most everything on 2s. And then it's AP 4 still, so it sticks with its high AP, and D6 +6 damage. Right now it's the more consistent 6 + 2 D3. Now we're just going to D6 6. Not a huge change. But remember, if you roll a 6 to wound, because of the devastating wounds, if you roll a 6 to wound, it's going to be D6 +6 mortal wounds. No armor save, flows through the unit as mortal wounds do, goes straight to the damage aspect. So that's cool. Again, we're going to have to wait to see if we have ways of triggering that effect without naturally rolling a 6, because it makes it a little more difficult. They're showing us here, there's some ways they make some rules proc on lower roll numbers. For example, conversion beamers, which we'll talk about here in a second. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we have any ways of manipulating it. Other than that, it's just going to, 1 in 6 chance of that popping off. It's still real strong. However, magna rails currently ignore invulns. There's no word of that on this profile. So invulns are going to be a huge deal, especially we've seen that Terminators, Space Marine Terminators will have a 4-up invuln. So they can stop a magna rail on a 50-50 roll. So we'll see. So yeah, that's mostly it, all I want to talk about. I'm not going to get into the ion cannon or the conversion beamer too much. I just prefer the magna rail still. If you guys disagree, let me know in the comments. Let's talk it out. I'd like to hear your input on that. Interestingly, vehicles now have a weapon skill of 4. It's strength 8, 0 AP, 1 damage. It does get 6 attacks. So I suppose in combat, it's slightly more efficient now. Instead of hitting on 6s, it's hitting on 4s. And then there's one special rule. Oh, it still has the scanner, meaning it ignores light cover. So it ignores cover, period. Which is great to have, especially when everything's reducing AP. I think that's going to be a huge benefit, as I talked about earlier. And additionally, there's one special rule called fire support. Basically, in your shooting phase, if the Hekaton shoots, and then there was a unit inside that Hekaton that got out after the movement and shoots that same target. So let me read it here just so we get it clear. In your shooting phase, after this model is shot, select one enemy unit it scored 1 or more hits against. Just have to hit it. Until the end of the phase, each time a friendly model that disembarked from this transport this turn makes an attack that targets the enemy unit, you can re-roll the wound roll. GW has already said that, re-rolls are going to be less common. So this is a great way to get some re-rolls. Now, it's something after the Hekaton shot at it, but a Hekaton could put its magna rail into one target and then, throw a couple bolt cannon shots or auto cannon shots into another target, score a hit on that second target, and this proc this rule here where the unit that got out of the Hekaton and is shooting will get full re-rolls to wound against either of the targets that the Hekatons put shots into. Obviously, this is great against extra durable targets. It depends on what you've got riding around in the Hekaton. I'm disappointed it doesn't give us any firing deck numbers here. So apparently, we will not be able to put magna rail Hearthkin warriors inside the Hekaton and have 2 magna rail shots coming out of the Hekaton. Disappointed that, but yeah, being able to reroll wounds means you can use this in a lot of ways by splitting the fire of the Hekaton and hitting multiple targets, and then choosing, after you've done that, which one you want to put those models in that came out of the Hekaton, which target they want to shoot into. But especially good, obviously, against super durable targets where you're going to want, monsters, vehicles, Titanic units. It's going to be super powerful. Putting all the Hekaton shots into that and then following up with whatever units got out of there. As it is right now, the transport capacity, and which is not listed on here. Transport's not listed on here at all. Is that on the back of the cards? I don't know. The transport capacity might be on the backs of the cards, which you're not seeing here. As it is right now, each of the Thunderkin, the heavy weapon guys, take up 3 spots. So you can only really put 3 of them into a Hekaton. The Terminators take up 2, and regular Hearthkin Warriors just take up 1. So you have a variety of options that you will be able to put in this. As is currently, like I said, we'll have to see what the actual rules are for transport for the Hekaton, or as far as how many units can contain and what the limits are on the different armor types. But it still seems real strong and a more durable meta. I think this is still a cool vehicle. Obviously, it depends on what the points are going to look like, but not too bad. I mean, re-rolling wounds of the bolt cannons will be cool. And finally, we're going to look at the weapon spotlight here for the SP Conversion Beamer. So the Conversion Beamer, there's a Conversion Beamer option on the Hekaton. There's a Conversion Beamer option on the Thunderkin Warriors, the heavy weapon guys. So here it says the SP Conversion Beamer has the Conversion special rule and sustains hits D3. Each Conversion Beamer just gets 1 shot at 24 inches, 1 attack, ballistic skill 4 up, strength 7. AP is only 1, but it is 3 damage. Damage is flat 3. Now, each time an attack is made with this weapon, if it has the conversion ability, if the target is more than 12 inches from the bearer, an unmodified success hit roll of 4+ scores a critical hit. So depending on your reroll options, but even without, when you roll a 4 to hit, that sustained hits pops off on a 4 up instead of a 6 up. And it's sustained hits D3. So if you roll a 4 up and your target's more than 12 inches away, you're going to get 1 hit plus D3 more hits. On a squad of 3 to 6 of these guys, that could be a big deal. Obviously, if you have some way of getting rerolls, which we haven't really seen yet, but we're going to have to assume that the high call gives out some kind of rerolls. There might be a stratagem for it as well, as there is right now. Being able to fish for those 4-ups and getting all those extra hits, it's going to be huge. So we'll have to again wait and see on what the other rules are, the other strats we get. I don't like the lack of consistency with it. Again, 1 shot, and it's only AP 1. 3 damage is cool, but it's only AP 1. Still not real sold on the benefit of this weapon, but we'll have to take a look and see what other rules we get. I'm going to keep saying that until we actually get the other rules. So that's it. Oh, reactive reprisal. We have a stratagem to take a look at here. 2 CP stratagem, reactive reprisal. That's okay for being 2 CP. We've already talked about ways we can generate extra CP, but when during your opponent's shooting phase. So when your opponent shoots at you, just after an enemy unit that has 1 or more judgment tokens has resolved its attack. So if you have an enemy unit that has a judgment token on it, it shoots at you after they're done shooting. It says target 1 Leagues of Votann unit from your army that is selected as a target of 1 or more of the attacking unit's attacks. Currently, this is limited to infantry or the Pioneer jet bikes. Now, that's not, so we can use this with a Hekaton. Essentially, if your opponent has a judgment token on them and they shoot at you for 2 CP, you can just shoot back. The effect, your Leagues of Votann unit can shoot as if it were a shooting phase, but it must target the enemy unit that just attacked it and can only do so if that enemy unit is an eligible target. So it lets you shoot back right away. And this is right now, it is 2 CP right now, but you also lose your next shooting phase. It doesn't say anything about that here because CP are going to be harder to come by in the new edition. I think for that 2 CP, they are giving you an extra shooting phase. Again, it can only target the unit that targeted you. That target unit has to have a judgment token on it, and it's after they've resolved their attacks. But real strong. I think they revealed in the Sisters of Battle stratagem. They have a similar stratagem to this for 10th edition. This one is nice because it just says Leagues of Votann unit. It doesn't have to be infantry. It doesn't have to be jet bikes. It can be the Hekatons or any other vehicle. So really, really strong. I think that one's great. Overall, my opinions are that I feel like they over-nerfed the Eye of the Ancestors ability, the Judgment Token ability. I knew it was going to have to get less good, obviously, with a reduction in killing across the board. But it seems like they took the nerf bat to it real hard and spent a good long time pounding on it. And it's all going to compare, again, we need to see what our stratagems are. We need to see how characters affect these things. How does the Forge Master affect the vehicles? How does the High Call affect the vehicles? What does Uthar do? Well, these are all important things. We need to know what our stratagems are because they're going to have a big effect on this. But it feels like it was an over-nerfing, so I'm a bit concerned about that. But I'm still going to put them on the table and see what they do, and still have a lot of fun with them. I love my little dwarfs. So give me some feedback, guys. Tell me what you think. Tell me what I missed, what I misinterpreted, what I misread, and also let me know what you guys think about these rules. I don't think it's end of the world type thing, but it's certainly a change from the way we do things right now. But I'm eager to try it out whenever we get this new edition, whenever it drops on the table and I can get my little hands on it. Yeah, so give me that feedback, guys. Let me know what you think, and I will talk to you all later. All right, have a good one.